Bridal show producers. Let's give it up for Mr. Don Freedman.
Thank you. Just a second, One second.
Come on, guys.
I'm really glad to be presenting this, and you know, I heard Andy Ebon speak, I heard Alan Berg speak this morning, and Alan Berg had this pre-recorded intro, which I thought was really cool. And I said, he's a pretty smart guy, but he's not that much smarter than me. So at lunchtime, I got together with Will Haggerty and Ty Hansen, and we all said, you know, Don, you can do a pre-recorded intro too. So bear with us for a second.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for being here today. You are about to hear from Don Freedman. Today, you will benefit from Don's 21 years of bridal show producing experience and Don's 15 years of psychotherapy. Members of Bridal Show Producers International have benefited from a plethora of Don's ideas over the years, including, but not limited to, and many others. You've seen Alan Berg, you've seen Andy Ebon, you may think you've seen the best. In short, bald-headed, eyeglass wearing, winning experts, but you have not. Ladies and gentlemen, round for round, pound for pound, the finest wedding marketing mind in town, Don Vito Corleone Freedman!
How much did he pay you, Will?
Take that, Alan Berg.
Oh, do it again.
Did you miss that, Alan Berg? We'll do it next year. I have the pleasure of presenting, thank you guys. Hooking me up for the audio? Thank you. That's all.
I tell you what.
I have the pleasure of presenting other people's work. You'll all remember, I hope, I sent out an email a long time ago on the Yahoo Groups thing saying I'm looking for good ideas from our members, and there are plenty of them out there. And you're going to see some of the top ones right now. And we have ideas from the great state of Texas, the great big state of Texas. We have an idea from the little bitty state of Rhode Island. Little bitty state, great big idea. From the mountainified state of Colorado, and from the greatest state of them all, North Carolina. The #1 state out of the 57 states. So let's go, oh, by the way, if you know me, everything about selling more booths and selling more tickets, those to me are the most important things in our business life here. Everything else is more or less window dressing. So what you're going to see is things that will, if you like the ideas, help you accomplish those things. So let's go first to idea #1 from the great state of Don't Mess with Texas, Texas. This concept, some of you know about it, and Bob Lohman alluded to it earlier, it's called Bridal Bucks. And on each one of these ideas that I give you, or that I share with you from others, there is a big idea or more than one big idea inherent in it. This one has two. Bridal Bucks' big idea, part 1, is getting brides excited and therefore selling more tickets. We're going to show you how that works. Big idea #2, or part 2, helping vendors make sales, which of course is the reason bridal shows exist, but importantly, you getting the credit for the sales. I'm sure every one of us has, you've called an exhibitor who hasn't re-signed for the next show. Why haven't you? Well, I didn't get anything out of that show, when you know damn well that he did. Bridal Bucks draws a straight arrow to the show equals this sale that you made. So there's that factor at work, as well as our vendors like to see quick results. They like to get phone calls and emails right after the show. this taps right into that. Okay, can everybody hear me okay? Yes. All right. So let's look at it. How does this work? Now, when this was first explained to me, I had a lot of questions. What about this? What about that? So bear with me here. I'll go through it, and once you understand it, it's a killer, and we'll never not do this again for our shows. The first thing you're going to do is solicit your vendors for their deals. Most vendors, not most, yeah, I would say most vendors, have a deal of one sort or another. $200 off this, $500 off my platinum package, and so on and so forth. You say, give me whatever deal you're going to be offering brides. And this, when I say give me, it's not a phone call. You send out an email about this with a form attached. I don't want to get into the nuances of it, but that's basically it. You're going to get all the deals that vendors want to give you. Why? We're going to promote that for you in conjunction with the show in 3 different ways. That's my gum. That's my laser pointer. Or Alan Berg's laser pointer. We're going to promote it in 3 different ways. On the website, in our ads, and on Facebook. Promote the Bridal Bucks concept. Your Facebook post may look something like this. Receive $1,000 in Bridal Bucks, buy your tickets online, etc., etc. Okay? So, when a bride arrives at the show, she's going to get 2 things. She's going to get Bridal Bucks, which I'll show you the look of them in a second, but essentially Monopoly money. And she's going to get a deals sheet. The deals sheet is the list of all those deals that you solicited from your exhibitors that they've given you. Now, Bridal Bucks can look like this. Bridal Bucks can look like that. Sheila, where is Sheila? Sheila has some examples of the way they are done here, and we'll be glad to give you some copies of those. Okay? The bride also gets the deals sheet. You can't read this, but that says $25 toward your cake delivery from this cake vendor. $100 toward an all-inclusive package of 3 nights or more at this travel agent. $400 toward a wedding booking at this place, and so on and so forth. Whatever the deals are, they've got to be a minimum of, you choose of course, but let's say $25. Now, needless to say, a bride comes in, she's not going to be looking at that deal sheet all day long as she walks up and down the aisles to figure out who's got the deal. She may very well throw it in her goodie bag. So, every vendor who's participating will get a magnificent sign like that, which is me saying doesn't have to be fancy, in their booths. So as brides come in, they've got their hand full of Bridal Bucks, and they see these and they say, what's your deal? So what happens when a bride says, what's your deal? Well, she's initiating a conversation with a vendor. That's good thing number 1. Hopefully, that will lead to an appointment or a follow-up call, eventually leading to a sale, I hope. It's important that this chain of events takes place quickly so that the vendors understand that this bride came from your show. So to motivate brides to move quickly, you put a short time window on this deal and you make it abundantly clear to brides that these Bridal Buck offers are only good for, we do it for 14 days. So get on the phone right away. These vendors book up quickly. These are great deals, as you can see. So what's the result? Brides can do their booking with vendors right then and there. They can do it in the days following. And since we want to perpetuate this because it's good for the brides, good for the vendors, it's certainly good for us when this happens, we send out a post-show reminder. How many people send out an email to brides anyhow right after the show saying, thanks for coming, for the express purpose of figuring out if the emails are a good address, right? We all do that. This is a different way to do that. Alert them, give them, you remember those Bridal Bucks that you got when you came in the show? 2 weeks, you got 2 weeks left, and you can refer them, if you do this, to your website. If you don't have your sheet, it's all listed on the website. Get it? Questions?
Excellent.
Okay, it is excellent.
Hey, Don.
Yes.
Can I just tell you something right now?
Yes.
We do I Do Dollars. And I had an exhibitor email me to find out if they were going to get reimbursed for those.
Barbie does it, she calls it something different, and an exhibitor calls it, are they going to be reimbursed? Clearly, we call that an occupational hazard. Clearly, the person didn't quite understand, but no, they're not going to get reimbursed. Something to consider.
Don,
Yes?
my clients got used to my Bosco bucks, so they just raised their prices $100 because they know the discount is going to be asked for. So once they get hit with the Bosco buck once, they raise all their prices $100. It's a no-win situation.
Okay. Did you say a no-win situation?
Well, Paul's going to be well, you know, win-win.
Okay, win-win.
So if I could just add to that, I do Bridal bucks also, which I got the idea from Sheila 4 years ago. And what I've done this last year actually is I get 90% of my brides buy tickets online. So about 4 or 5 days beforehand, I was able to email them all, say if you can Facebook and tweet about the show, we'll actually double the Bridal bucks. All you have to do is when you come through the door, just say double, the password is double, I doubled my Bridal bucks. And 40% of those brides said that, so it kind of expanded my Facebook list.
Sweet deal. Anybody else on Bridal bucks? Ty? Judy?
Is there a way for any of you that use this that you can think of to do it as where your vendors can do something value added instead of a dollar reduction?
You know, that's interesting, because people said, all right, let's do the way we do it, and you have an answer to that? Because I don't.
A couple of things to keep in mind, and yes, vendors do that. They'll say, instead of taking $100 off your service, we will take $100 towards your enhanced photo album. We will take $100 and add another hour to your DJ. Because most people book a 4-hour, but if hey, you can use the Bridal bucks, the additional. The two key things we learned really quickly on it was that Bosco does his as a straight $100 discount. Our customers set whatever discount they want to do. And the first time we did this, we had an invitation company who said, I'll take $200 in Bridal bucks towards invitations, and got burned because people were going in and ordering $250 worth of invitations. So your exhibitors have to set restrictions. Must be a minimum order, you know, whatever they want to put on it. This much we have, as Bob mentioned, we have them that'll say, I'll take $200 off my top package and $100 off my second package and $50 off my third level package. The other thing to tell them is not to accept Bridal bucks for deposits.
That's key, because that takes away the risk.
Because
Right.
brides will book
Yep.
4 venues using their Bridal bucks as deposits and then just blow off 3 of them while they're holding the date.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Does everybody who do this, do y'all provide a deal sheet? Or
No. Sal does a deal sheet, I do a deal sheet, Sheila does not do a deal sheet.
No, we just listed our program, who's taking them, because we've been doing them, what, about 5 years now? 4 years, something like that? And even the vendors who've been with us that long, and we call them, our people call them and email them, do you want to do Bridal bucks? Do you want to do Bridal bucks? And invariably, we'll get another 10, 15 of them. The morning of the show, after we do a brief exhibitor meeting, and they'll come up and say, wait, I need Bridal bucks. I want to do Bridal bucks. But, and also by not giving them a deal sheet and telling them all the offers are listed on the website, it drives the brides back to the website.
But even if you do, like Sal and I do the sheet, we could still give them a sign. They could still participate. That deal sheet is not gospel. Somebody,
Well, doesn't that change it to a lot of, because there's our deal, and we're just going to do it.
what happens is,
Don't we want to talk to all the people who
Maybe I just have crazy vendors who fight a lot. But I mean, I can just see that kind of blowing up if it's okay. Here's the deal.
What could
If
blow
you
up?
change it from a value and all the additional services to fit in here on top of it for a top vendor, you're going to save your dollars.
I'm not understanding what the issue is. Can you just rephrase it?
What is the phrase? When you said here's the deal sheet, everybody gets handed that when they come in.
Right.
Then does the show not become the deal show versus coming for ideas, inspiration, find the top vendors or the cake people fighting, well, so-and-so's giving this deal and doing that. Whereas if it's just blank where they're not handed 100 there and you're talking with the vendors, so you find out what the services are. And I think it's just my vendors that
Well, just
are
the
blow
sign,
up.
the signs don't say what the deal is.
I know.
So you
He
have
said-
to ask them.
Yeah.
Thinking that there are going to be deals available? I mean, am I wrong that your couples come in thinking, well, everybody's in one place, I'm going to find out what they are? I love added value versus dollars off. I always recommend to my customers, make them buy and give them more instead of just taking money off. But I don't think it's cheap. Of course, I wouldn't call it a deal sheet, because that, I think, is a matter of technical wording. But I would think that they're going to the show thinking that there are going to be deals, so it's just going to... I think what I want to do is I want to get people to stop at a booth, and if that gets me to stop at your booth, you can have a conversation, and then it's up to you. I mean, that's my thinking.
You have to also remember, JCPenney spent over $30 million hiring an executive from Apple to come market JCPenney. He said, no more sales, we're going to do strictly low everyday pricing. He was fired because it didn't work. Women are brides, and brides want deals. You have to remember that that's what they're looking for.
There was an article in the New York Times recently, and it was a book written about discounts. And what it said is that people universally would rather get more value than a discount. They actually asked people, would you rather get 30% off or 30% more? And people said, I'd rather get 30% more, even though that's not as good of a dollar value as getting 30% off. And if you think about it, you buy tires, would you rather get 25% off or buy 3, get 1 free? Everybody says, I want to buy 3, get 1 free,
And those who
25% off.
And those who want to certainly can. This is one program that a lot of bridal show producers have succeeded with.
Ooh, 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 I feel like my son. He's always trying to get his question answered. What about bridal bonus instead of bridal bucks?
For the added value.
For the added value, if we don't want to involve the discount.
Could be. Could be. That would work better for you, right?
If I could just comment, I bought my show 5 years ago, and back then it was, you could win a free trip, and I had to run through sandals, and I had to go through all this hoops, filling all this paper, and I'm thinking, you know, there's 800 brides coming to my show, one bride's gonna win a 4-day trip. I'm like, I need something that's gonna give me instant gratification for every bride. What can I do? Went through expo sites, he showed me other different sites. I found Sheila's site, and I said, boom, there it is, $500 of bridal bucks. Every bride gets it. And I said, okay, well, every bride who registers online gets $1,000 to come to the show. So again, it's just really the hook to get the brides that come to the show. Just like a songwriter, it's all a hook about how good their song is. That's what it is. It's just a different type of advertising campaign to say, okay, come to the show, register online, you get $1,000 in bridal bucks. Or come to the show and you get a trip to win a sandals vacation, not to knock sandals, but one bride out of 700 gets to win it. Most of, I shouldn't say most of my vendors, but there's already a lot of prizes given away at the show as well too. So I'm still incorporating in my advertising, okay, prizes, gifts, what have you. And if you register online, you get $1,000 in bridal bucks. And also, just to kind of answer maybe your question, when vendors do have like details, hey, you get $100 off this package or $200, I just say, see vendor for details. So now it drives that bride to the vendor's booth, and that vendor could explain, yes, this is how it works. I'll give you $100 off this package, $300 off this package. And you do have to educate the vendor, not to say like the invitation person, hey, you get $200 versus your, you know.
And big picture, that is our job, to get the bride, to have a conversation with the vendor. And if it's okay, let's take one more question, and then I've got several of these to go through. So Ralph, go ahead.
Well, will you later tell us when did you start this and how successful was it for you?
I started this winter. It was good. We made a couple mistakes. We're going to fix those mistakes for the summer. After we're done here today, go see Sheila, and she will give you more history than I can provide. Okay? All right. But to bottom line this, every time bridal bucks are used and result in a sale, that exhibitor says, I got that sale from your bridal show. Every time a bride has a phone conversation about bridal bucks, hey, I've got some bridal bucks here, I saw you had a deal, phone conversation or email correspondence, that was a result of the show, not she found you somewhere else. So if nothing else, that is an arrow pointed to you as the show producer. All right, let's go from the big state of Texas to the little state of Rhode Island. This is very interesting. Bill, our new member, brought this to me. Virtual exhibitors. The big idea here is not leaving money on the table. And here's what we mean. There are essentially, has anybody ever tried to sell a booth to a prospective exhibitor and have them say no and you not make the sale? Has that ever happened to anybody?
No.
Oh, well, let's go for the next one. All right, so needless to say, that's the bane of our existence. We like to sell booths, but you get no's. And you get no's for essentially 5 reasons. And I'll kind of umbrella these. Reason number 1, not interested. They don't like you, they don't like the venue, they don't like bridal shows, whatever it is, they're not interested and it's not going to happen. Number 2, they can't afford it. Maybe they're a little bitty wedding consultant. Whatever the reason, you can't get blood from a turnip. Nothing doing on either of those categories. Number 3, I want to be in your bridal show. I have the money to be in your bridal show, I just can't do it because I have a scheduling conflict. I'm out of town that weekend. My staff is doing a huge wedding somewhere else, etc., etc. Want to be there, ready to write the check, I just have a conflict. What was that? Oh, yeah. Excuse me.
Get blood.
You can go to the cloud. It's right over here. Strip is right here. Got it? Okay. Number 4, you won't hear these words, but I'm not capable of being in a show. So maybe it's a person who literally has a physical disability. I broke my arm, I can't be there. Maybe they're really good at what they do, but their staff can't compete with the other hotel staff. They know the value of the show, they recognize that, they want to get in front of all these brides, they're just incapable of being at a bridal show. And number 5, this is a little bit of a twist, but this is you saying no to them. My show is sold out. I can't squeeze another booth in. So, one way or another, I think every no fits into one of those categories. But in any case, the way most of us leave that is, doggone it, hopefully we'll see you again at the next show. However, Bill Lucy says, no problem, we've got a plan B for, insert dollar amount here, for $500. Here's what we can do for you. Oh, I'm sorry, let me go back 1 second. For the last 3 of those, the ones in yellow, those are people that are ready to pay you, we just can't have you in the show. So to people in those 3 categories, you say, here's what we can do for you. Give us your piece of literature, we'll put it in our welcome bag. Every bride will get your piece of literature. Number 2, we'll give you 50% off an ad in our program. And whatever discount, if you happen to be a magazine publisher, a discount in our magazine as well. Number 3, we will give you an upgraded web listing. A lot of brides are going to be hitting our site just before the show. They'll see you on a banner instead of on a little listing. You need that benefit because you're not at the show. Here's a little more presence. Number 4, we will do a Facebook for you. We've got 3,400 brides, mostly brides, as our Facebook fans. We'll do a post promoting you and your business. And last but certainly not least, we will give you the database of brides who didn't have the opportunity to meet you at the show. You'll be able to reach them through mail or email afterwards. Now, is everybody going to say, yes, that's great, here's my $500? No. But if a few people do, that's cost you next to nothing. You help those exhibitors meet your brides, and you've made some money.
Yeah, but is it fair to the vendors who made the commitment to be at a show that they could database?
There's no made the commitment to be at the show. They paid you money to be in the show. He's paying you money to provide other things as well.
Is it the same money? You pay, like, we've done that for years, they pay the same price though.
Yeah.
If you discount this at all, it won't work, but they're paying the same price.
Bill originally said to me, he said the exact same price as a booth price.
Yeah.
That's why I said insert dollar amount here, whatever it is for your. Okay? Good take-home idea? Okay. Number 3. So we've talked about Texas. We've talked about Rhode Island. Let's go to Colorado. Now, if you look closely,
No, you don't. No. That's not.
right here, Buzz and Sue. You can tell by the tattoos.
I'm the OTGR.
All right, so here's our Colorado situation. This is about a video seminar. Most of us, or at least many of us, conduct training seminars. You invite people, you have a ballroom like this, you conduct a training seminar for your vendors, your brand new vendors, or your prospective vendors. It's usually very effective. Wouldn't it be nice to have this kind of wisdom available 24/7? And in the case of somebody moving into a new market, it's quite an introduction. So, the big idea here is this. This show producer was new to this market. She bought the show from somebody else. She's more or less a stranger to them. The big idea is, hi, nice to meet you, we can help you, and here's how. So here's the situation. Let's do a little situation analysis of what's going on. We've got a new show producer. The previous show producer was in business for decades.
Yeah.
The challenge to the new show producer is, how do I introduce myself to these people? How do I generate credibility? And, most importantly perhaps, how do I help my vendors? So what we have before us is a classic case of something old, something new. What's the line? Something old, something new. Okay. So the something new in this equation is Barbie Howard, better known as Bridal Barbie. Now, were I a marketing strategist, I probably wouldn't recommend Bridal Barbie as the tag to go with somebody who's looking for the credibility point of view. Put that water under the bridge.
I've fighting it my whole life.
Okay, you can't get away from it.
Embrace it.
So her goal was indeed to generate some credibility, some expertise, which is where the something old comes in. And there's the something old. So Bridal Barbie goes and gets an old guy. And this is brilliant. And we're going to show you some video here. But this is brilliant because she taps in to 3 things here. Number 1, the expert from afar theory. Everybody know that theory? Yes. When I speak in Greensboro, North Carolina, I'm Joe Blow. But when I speak in Toronto, I'm a smart guy. The further away you are, the smarter you are. So she's bringing in Mark from several time zones away. That's number 1. Number 2, an old guy. Silver hair. And number 3, he got that tuxedo from Liberace, who said, now Mark, you take this, it makes me look gay. So you got the old, you got something old, and something new to work with. Now, what Bridal Barbie did was put together a video series. And if you, this is, not to get into the minutiae of it, but this is not available to anyone on the website, but she can send a link to anyone she wants to go to an aspect of her website. And let me see if I can do this properly. Okay, so when you're at that site, and I hope I'm tapped in here properly, if you can look down the side here, can you sort of see this? You can. That says introduction, step 1, step 2, step 3, all of which are lessons about doing well in a bridal show. So let's take a look at what the introduction looks and sounds like.
But there's no sound.
Your sound's on mute.
Sound's on mute.
Sound off.
Oh, is it on mute right now?
Yes,
on mute.
Okay, that's the problem. Oh.
It's on mute.
Today's brides are savvy, sophisticated, and motivated. To reach her with even the smallest of budgets, effective marketing can be achieved with a sound strategy. At our bridal shows, you have the opportunity for face-to-face contact, an experience that cannot be achieved with any other form of advertising. Brides can taste the cake, smell the flowers, and see the best products you have to display. Most importantly, she gets to meet you.
All right, let me stop that for a second. That's the intro, and she goes on, and you can see, where is she?
Colorado.
She's in Colorado, right? All right, so let's pick a step. Let's go to step number 2. And this is where Mark comes in.
Step 2, present yourself effectively. Being the savvy wedding professional that you are, you know that presenting yourself as an expert is as important as your product or service. You know the bride judges a book by its cover. Here are some do's and don'ts when promoting your brand at a bridal show.
All right, number 2, you need to present yourself effectively. During the show, your booth is your storefront, it is your studio, it is your office. You will be judged by the appearance of your booth and the attitude of your staff. Dress appropriate.
Okay, so you got it? Now she commissioned this video. Mark has been doing this for a long, long time. He's probably done it in your market. He's very good at it. And right away, there's credibility, and it's since transitioned to Barbie, who has now been doing shows in this market for 2 years. Okay, good idea, right? Questions, comments? Neither?
What were your comments from your exhibitors about it? I can tell. I usually send it to the new exhibitors. There's some oldies that I send it to, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's amazing. They've done that." I can tell by the new exhibitors if they've looked at it. I can tell by their booth. When I walk by, "Oh, you're Barbie. I saw your videos." So I can tell who's seen it and who's not. Some people love it. They just, "Thank you so much, it's fantastic." And so most of them like the bloopers. I did a blooper reel at the end. It's about 2 minutes, and that probably showed me more than anything, and that's what they want to know. They want to know me. And there were a lot of bloopers to put in there, but we had to edit.
Yeah. I think the more natural it is.
Okay? All right. Next. Whoops. Next. Idea number 4.
Where's the blooper reel?
That'll take a while, but it's funny. We'll give you the link for that, right? Okay. Idea number 4, from the magnificent state of North Carolina. Whoops, I got an extra picture there. I'm sorry, that happens to be the beautiful Blue Ridge Parkway in the western part of North Carolina.
Your backyard.
Doggone it, another North Carolina picture. I'm sorry, that's the white sand beaches. Let's get down to business here. Oh! Somehow a picture of the champion North Carolina Tar Heels from the University of North Carolina got in.
Sorry, do they play basketball?
They play basketball. Oh, you're from Kentucky.
Yeah, I thought that was the University.
Yeah, I understand. I understand.
What year was that?
Moving on.
1776.
Thank you, Buzz. Thank you. Keep the microphone away from him. One of the great things about North Carolina, there are so many iconic figures in entertainment, in sports, in commerce. That is one of the reasons the state is so low right now. Okay. So the big idea here is getting more out of Facebook. We all do one thing or another on Facebook, some better than others. The real big idea here, and the meat of this, is a way to get your exhibitors and your brides to help you sell tickets. Now, you probably have something like this, which we'll just call, for our purposes, the generic Facebook post. So you give this to your vendors, and you give them perhaps an incentive that says, we're going to pick 2 of you and give you each $100 or whatever you do for posting this on your Facebook page. let us know if you're going to play ball. And they send you an email back and say, sure, I'll do this. And you basically take their word for it, okay? So they post these, you'll see them because you're mostly fans and friends and so on. Some of your vendors have large Facebook followings, some more than others. So let's take, for example, a cake vendor who's very active, and you all have one because they're constantly showing pictures of their cakes. What could be more interesting to the outside world? Who do that all the time. They post pictures of their cakes, they've got a lot of followers. So here's a slightly, what am I doing here? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is a slightly different version, okay? Another generic version, planning a triad wedding, come see us this Saturday. This is for any vendor who might want to use this. But the cake person, you've seen the pictures, now come for a taste or two at the Carolina Wedding Show. So now you're drilling down a little bit to their category. They're going to consider that more relevant. They're going to say, great, that's for us. We want to give people a taste of our cake. Now, what about the well-respected caterer with a huge Facebook following? Why not tailor-make one for that vendor? In my case, Pepper Moon Catering. Pepper Moon Catering, just reading that makes you hungry, huh? What caterer, what vendor of yours is not going to be responsive to something specifically tailored? And what we do is we send that to them saying, what do you think of this? Is this the kind of thing you'd like to post? And they might say, yes, we'd love to post this, but we just decided we're going to call it Pepper Moon with no space in between. Can you do that? Of course we can. That kind of thing. That has worked extremely well for us. There are endless possibilities. Everybody has a florist who is their official florist in their fashion show. Ours is Beverly's. Those flowers in the fashion show, Beverly's, of course. Come see us at the Carolina Wedding Show. Beverly loves posting that, and so will your Beverly. Does anybody do this kind of stuff? Cool. Okay. You also have magazine vendors in your show, and all of them are actively promoting themselves on Facebook, and accordingly they have lots of followers. They can come and pick up the new issue at your show. They love posting this. Why do they love posting it? Get their name out and keep it in front of their fans, but their job is to let their advertisers know how hard they're working to get their magazines in the hands of brides. And what better way to do that than at your bridal show? All right, let's shift gears for a minute. Thankfully for us, brides love the idea of constantly telling everybody they're getting married. When you are looking at brides posting about every little detail about their bridal plan, their wedding planning, etc., great for us. What's a good way to get a bride to post one of these? Well, you've got a list of brides who have already bought tickets from you or registered on your site or whatever you've done to capture email addresses. Why not send out a couple of versions of this, which I'll show you in a second, and say, is this the kind of thing you'd like to post? We're going to give a $100 gift certificate to 2 brides who post on your Facebook page about the show that you're coming to. So here's one version. This is fairly straightforward. This is the bride, of course, that's our symbolic bride. I'm planning my wedding too. Next stop is this Saturday. So yet another way for her to let everybody in the world know that she's a bride to be. And one that's a little more cutesy. If you're looking for me, I'll be saying hello to the cake vendors at the Carolina Wedding Show. We get lots of brides doing that. We're more than happy to give a couple $100 for that. What does Andy say? Questions, comments, anxieties?
Who does those for you? You do that?
I do those. Yeah.
How do you do that?
How do I do them? I think I do them in Adobe Acrobat, whatever the fancier version is. What's it called? Photoshop? No, not Photoshop. It's Adobe Acrobat Professional or something. It's in the Adobe suite. And you type those words in, you then change it to a JPEG. That makes it more Facebook friendly.
Is it Illustrator or InDesign?
I'm sure you can do it. I don't use Illustrator or InDesign, but I'm sure there's a ton of programs that can create those. And to me, it's just a matter of, there's very little difference structurally between that that, just plugging in the words. Just make sure when you send Pepper Moon Catering theirs, it doesn't say Painted Plate Catering, the other guy. Obviously. Okay? Sir.
Hi, I just wanted to share a little idea
That buzz with you.
Hi. I just wanted to share an idea that we do with our company, Bridal Expo Chicago, is that mentioned at least twice during the fashion show, we have our host mention to all the brides that are seated in the audience that we're giving away one prize at, let's say, 6 p.m. that evening, only amongst those people who are seated in the fashion show who make a comment of any kind about the event that just happened, and that we'll announce the winner. We'll randomly select a winner, let's say at 6 p.m. Typically our shows on a Sunday run from 11 until 4. And what happens is that we get, probably between at least 15 to 50 comments in our comment section, which then all their friends see those comments, and then the ones, and so it just is an extra way to leverage some of the ideas that you just mentioned.
So Bill, let me ask you a question. So your shows are one day?
That's correct.
That's happening during the show, right? Mm-hmm. How does that help you?
Well, because the very next show that we're doing, we do a lot in Chicago, we want brides to remain engaged with our Facebook page. And so, they may have become fans or liked our page in the weeks or months previous to that, but we're actually initiating an actual comments. And usually it's something very, very nice, like, really loved watching the fashion show today. The commentator was really great. My favorite dress was the Lazaro gown in the finale. And then it just sort of, and then the next person that sees a nice comment that someone wrote, then they write another great comment and another great comment, and it just sort of propels itself. Occasionally we'll get one bride that says something negative, and then we hide that comment.
But worst case scenario, those vendors are potentially also seeing that, saying, wow, there are a lot of brides here, or even the vendors who didn't come.
Sure, and then of course there's also people that are sitting in the audience that have not liked our Facebook page yet.
Yeah.
That have, come to the show and maybe are not following us, so we'll pick up an extra 25 or 30 or 50. Some of you guys that have audiences of 1,000 or 2,000 people, you could get them instantly while the fashion show is going on, get their attention right now and say, bring out your smartphones and like us and comment, and then we're going to draw a winner immediately after the show. So stay tuned and check back on this page at 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. or the next morning, what have you. You can play around with it. But imagine your fashion shows with 1,500 people there, and them all going to your Facebook page and everyone liking your Facebook page. Your numbers can grow pretty quickly.
That's a really good idea.
Please be sure to raise your hand high, so if you have a question.
Let's do this. If this is a question toward Don, specifically toward his presentation, that's what the question is for. If they're general, we're going right into our open session. So is this pertinent to what Don has been presenting? Okay. Don't forget that comment. Okay, hold on to it. Jay.
Don, did you ever experiment with maybe getting permission from the bride to use her photo?
Her photo in what
Like
sense?
one of her own photos. A picture of her.
No.
And you kind of played around with it a little bit, like eating cake or something, or photoshopped it or something, and then added the text to it.
I think that's a great idea. My wife mentioned that. How would that work technically?
Well, you would have to contact her and say, here's what we're doing, can I use one of your photos? And she could either send it to you, or you could use one that's on her Facebook page.
This is not an exact answer to what you're saying, but that bride is actually a full-size bride. And at our show, we have a giant cutout. Her face is cut out. And brides love going up with sticking their face to there. People take a picture and they're posting it that way. That's not an answer to your question, I don't think, but I love that idea.
Because I mean, it's all about her now, right?
Yeah, we gotta figure out a way to do that. Mark?
Last year, we did a contest for the vendors, not for the brides, more about the vendors posting about wedding festivals, and we did a 3-month contest, and they had to either post on Facebook or Twitter about attending wedding festivals or something about it. We had 1,000 posts in 3 months, and we gave away a free booth whoever did the most.
Yeah, you guys do a great job of that. Anything about this, Oscar?
I had a vendor, Allstate, did something interesting. They had a Senate banner with their logo.
You say Allstate?
Allstate Insurance.
Insurance.
They had brides stand in front of the banner. They gave them a funny hat. They photographed it and then put it on their Facebook page. And then the brides liked them because they wanted to see the picture.
Huh. Okay. Any questions about this, or bridal bucks, or our idea from Rhode Island, or what Bridal Barbie did? All right, there's needless to say, and I'd like to, if you'll have me, I'll do this every year. I mean, I love the idea of getting ideas from vendors and presenting like this, but whatever you do, my biggest pet peeve is typos. Always remember, punctuation saves lives.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate it. Good job.